Yep, let's get it rolling here on Locked In. You heard our names. You know our names by now, I hope. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. If you want to chime in on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, it's 405-651-3439. And this hour of the show is brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. Well worth the drive out there to take advantage of their friendly sales environment, personable staff, and half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Speaking of Saturdays, Grayson Singleton, you got brunch plans for the weekend yet? You got that locked in? Got that lined up?
I do. It's Sunday.
Oh, Sunday brunch. Okay.
Yeah, Sunday, so after a night out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's how you have it all mapped out, huh?
That
Late
is,
night Saturday, wake up Sunday, have some brunch.
That is how this is going to go.
All right, then. Is the Pro Bowl this Sunday?
Yeah, and I don't give a rip.
I don't either. I can't remember the last time I watched the Pro Bowl. Probably like 2008.
I was about to say around that time.
I think I watched it when Adrian Peterson was a rookie and made the Pro Bowl as a rookie. I forget whether he was a selection or an alternate, but I cannot recall watching the Pro Bowl since. Of course, it's not even the Pro Bowl anymore now. It's like the Pro Bowl games.
Mm-hmm. With like flag football and whatever dumb stuff they're doing. But no, I don't schedule things around the Pro Bowl. So, yeah, we're going to go get brunch, and I'll probably end up doing other things that I would normally not do on a Sunday.
There you go. And it's a good Sunday to get those things done because it's the only Sunday we've had in, gosh, how long has it been since we have not had football of any kind
20
on
weeks.
a Sunday?
21 weeks.
Yep. So there you go. Get your brunch in. Get your errands in. Prepare for Super Bowl Sunday. Chiefs, Eagles, Part 2, because we saw this exact same Super Bowl just 2 years ago.
Pretty much with the same cast of characters, too.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of annoying.
I find it fascinating. I don't know about you. I guess you and everybody else are sick of the Chiefs and somehow hate the Eagles. I find it fascinating, but do you have your Super Bowl plans nailed down yet?
I do not have my Super Bowl plans nailed down. I don't know if we're going to host a party or if we're just going to participate in a party. But I don't hate the Eagles. I'll probably pull for the Eagles in that football game. Love Jalen Hurts. Love Saquon Barkley. Man, what he's done this season, especially coming out of a time on the free agent market where he probably wasn't valued nearly as much as he should have been by NFL front offices and executives. And then to have the prove-it season that he's had and assert himself in the MVP race and help lift the Eagles to the Super Bowl, ton of respect for Saquon Barkley. So I'll probably be pulling for the Eagles. A 405 listener says, enlighten us on the text line.
On top of that, he said, fascinating, enlighten us. Eagles have the worst and meanest fan base in the NFL. Well, certainly not the worst fan base, I'll tell you that.
Really? Who's the worst?
The worst fan base in the NFL? The Jaguars, because they don't show up.
Again, it depends on what you mean by worst.
Exactly.
Because, if you're talking about a fan base that just doesn't show up, yes, it's Jacksonville.
Jacksonville and the Chargers.
If you're talking about human beings that are generally unpleasant.
Okay, fair.
Philadelphia Eagles fans.
I have also never been to Philadelphia. I have friends that live in Philadelphia, and they're very good people. But, I mean, you're talking about, do I want to see a game where Kansas City's going to throw a party, or are we going to have Philadelphia climbing on light poles and shooting guns up? Did you see that video yesterday? They were celebrating the NFC Championship game. Somebody pulls a gun and just starts shooting it up in the air like a moron.
Yeah, and apparently somebody fell off a light pole and died yesterday.
Did they actually?
Yes.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yes, that happened.
We'd rather maybe not that happen. Mm-hmm. But, no, I mean, the Eagles have a rabid fan base, and that's what we love about sports. In terms of the fascinating aspect of the game, one team going for something that has never been done before. Mahomes is on a goat chase. Will this be Travis Kelce's last game? Can Saquon Barkley go from the Giants and match Tom Brady in terms of free agency acquisitions, leading a team to the Super Bowl in his first year? There's so many fascinating stories to this. I don't get why people are so disinterested. I really don't get, as a genuine sports fan, why you would be disinterested in seeing the two best teams in the last game. That makes no damn sense to me.
By the way, you know who's going to play this fall at Lincoln Financial Field, the home of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Who?
The University of Oklahoma. The University of Oklahoma has a road non-conference game against Temple.
I forgot Temple plays there.
That is correct. Yes. Been a good long time since Temple was relevant in the sport of football. I think you have to go back to the Matt Rule days. If you recall,
Yes.
Matt Rule, prior to taking the job at Baylor in 2017, was the head coach at Temple. I want to say in 2016, for several weeks, Temple was a top 25 program.
Yes.
They have been disaster ever since.
Are they the worst FBS team?
No.
Who's the worst FBS team?
Probably Kennesaw State.
Kennesaw State worse than Temple?
Probably because they're just so brand new to it, too. Kennesaw State being brand new to the FBS level. I think they've been up competing against FBS competition for 2 years now. Temple is, I mean, if nothing else, Temple has a decent conference affiliation. They're in the AAC.
Okay, this is valid. Kennesaw State's in the what? Sun Belt?
I don't have a clue. Sun Belt, Conference USA, something like that. I wish I could tell you.
The fact that you don't know is swaying me to your side that
It's
Kennesaw
either
State
like-
is worse than Temple.
It's like Kennesaw State or maybe like Old Dominion. I forget that Old Dominion exists half the time.
The only reason I remember it exists is because one of my childhood teammates plays there.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
At Old Dominion?
I've got a teammate in the NBA,
Really?
Jalen Tyson, that was drafted by the Cavs.
Oh, you're right. We did talk about this. I forgot.
We played AAU together.
Got you. Okay. Getting back on the topic of OU football and recruiting, which is where we are going to spend the majority of our time over the course of the next hour, albeit not all of our time, because we reserve the right to go off the rails from time to time, as we just did for 5 minutes. Doug in San Antonio asks, can you guys compare Daniel Odom to the other wide receivers most likely to be in the 26 class for Oklahoma? So, if you missed it yesterday, Oklahoma has a new commit in the 2026 class, and he's a good one. Daniel Odom, 4-star wide receiver out of Bellflower, California, a product of St. John Bosco High School, which is a powerhouse.
You left
out
that
there.
part out yesterday.
The Bosco part?
Yeah.
Well, here we are. He's a Bosco kid. Bosco
Okay.
stacks it deep every single year. They're one of those Cali private schools that takes full advantage of the system and just loads up.
Oh, yeah.
And Daniel Odom, per Rivals, is the number 142 player in the country overall in the 26 class. Number 25 wide receiver, 6'2", 190 or thereabouts. And he is Oklahoma's first commit at the position in the 26 class. A childhood teammate, a childhood friend of OU quarterback commit Jaden O'Neal. So that certainly helped spur his decision. Now, we've talked about a lot of the other names at wide receiver that you would consider, maybe likely is the wrong word because you can only have so many of them, realistic possibilities for Oklahoma at wideout in the 2026 class include Mason James from Norman North, Alger Miles from Kaufman, Texas. You have Jaden Warren from Rocheron, Texas. You have Davian Gross from Frisco, Texas. And, shoot, could you throw in at this point a guy like Jabari Brady from the state of Florida that just picked up his OU offer over the weekend, but is good friends with Daniel Odom, good friends with Jaden O'Neal, and has also expressed that he intends to loop back around and take an official visit to Oklahoma? So you're looking at, I would say, 6 names. Those 6 names above the rest, and it's not all about those 6 names. It seems like Emmet Jones has a surprise or two up his sleeve every single year. But those are the 5 names plus Daniel Odom, who's already committed, that I would consider to be most likely to wind up in OU's class at wide receiver. And so, again, the question becomes, who's Emmet Jones going to have to say no to? Because I think these spots are going to start filling up quick. And we've seen this before. We've seen this in the past with Oklahoma and with the prestige that this program and this brand carries among wideouts. Because all these kids, Grayson, they grew up watching Hollywood Brown and C.D. Lamb. And they grew up watching D.D. Westbrook, if you want to go back a little further. Marvin Mims. And you're thinking, what do you mean they grew up? That was only a couple of years ago. Yeah, we're all starting to get old. Because you think about it, anybody that's graduating high school in the year of our Lord 2026 was what? 10 years old? When Hollywood Brown was tearing it up in the Big 12 at the University of Oklahoma.
Makes me feel a hell of a lot older than I am.
Exactly. Older than you should, that's for sure. I saw that LeGarrette Blount Jr. picked up an FBS offer last week, and I was like, oh, my goodness. This is not right. There's nothing right about this. Larry Fitzgerald has a kid that's a big-time 2027 prospect. Who else? Darren Sharper's kid.
Really?
Uh-huh. Darren Sharper's kid's a bit. Yes.
Didn't Darren Sharper go to prison?
Yes. I believe he's still there.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. You go through some of those names in the 26, 27 class and just, I mean, you go back a couple years, Brian Urlacher, who, I mean, that's a while ago now, and it feels like even when I was growing up, I was young when Brian Urlacher was one of the top players in the NFL, but he had a son that went to Notre Dame, Plaxico Burress, Jerome Bettis.
Ryan Clark just had a kid that finished his career at Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, more so than any other school, is like NFL Legacy U.
Right.
They recruit all those former NFL greats kids, and they land a lot of them. Glenn from Nashville asks, Parker, what's your gut tell you about the Norman North receiver? Is he OU's to lose? Well, if you go back a couple days, one of the things I mentioned, I believe on Monday, was that Mason James grew up in a household where his mom was, to my understanding, an Oklahoma fan, and his dad was a Florida fan. And then what happened yesterday was Mason James got a Florida offer. I don't know if they were listening to this show or what, or if they just finally got around to watching his tape. But Mason James now has a Florida offer. He accompanied the Florida offer post with a picture of him as a child at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. So I would imagine they're going to be a bit more heavily involved in the process than a lot of the other big-name schools that have offered him. I still do believe, like if you're asking me what my gut tells me, Emmet Jones gets that one done. He gets it done because we've seen this movie play out time and again with Emmet Jones and kids that he is first to the table to offer, Grayson. And the general theme is that when Emmet springs first on somebody and he can start establishing that relationship before anybody else has had a chance, he's going to get the kid's commitment.
And there's usually a value in being the first and, to a kid say, hey, he's the one that saw my talent first and he's the one that said this could translate to the next level first. Don't overestimate that floor. And also, here's the thing with kids, too. And this was, and I was more like this as a kid. I never wanted to go to college close to home.
Really?
I never did. No. I went to college 4 hours really, away from home.
In Stillwater, Oklahoma, of all places.
Yeah, I did. So, you don't know the personality of a kid. Some kids like to go to school in their backyard. I've met plenty of kids since I moved here to Norman that go here to OU. Like, oh, yeah, I'm from Norman. I'm like, you're just 5 minutes from your parents. But you never know in terms of the personality. You just got a commitment from a guy from California yesterday. So, that's another thing to throw in. And another factor to throw into this whole scenario, too.
And geography probably matters less than it ever has before, especially with elite blue-chip recruits, because these days their NIL deals are going to, A, include a lot of money, and B, probably going to include some sort of stipulation for travel arrangements for their family members, tickets, ticket acquisitions, all that type of stuff. So if you're the type of player that has, I don't know, let's just say a 6-figure valuation in the NIL game, odds are you're going to be able to get mom and dad out to your games every single Saturday because the program will make that happen. Or the program won't make that happen. The collective will make that happen. It's baked into the pie with a lot of these deals these days. Jay in Tulsa says, Emmet can recruit for sure, but can he retain and develop? So far, not so much. How radically this conversation has evolved in 6 months. Because 6 months ago, what everyone was justifiably talking about was how much of an immediate impact Emmet Jones had on that wide receiver room when he got to town in 2023. And Oklahoma's wide receivers did perform very well in 2023. And then everybody gets hurt in 2024, and all of a sudden the narrative shifts. And it's, well, Emmet Jones can't develop. Emmet Jones can't retain talent. None of what happened with Oklahoma's wide receiver room in 2024 is on Emmet Jones' shoulders. I'm sorry, I'm unwilling to assign any of the blame to him for what went down. Okay, I will say this. He played Zion Reagans more than he probably should have. If Zion Reagans was not ready for that many snaps in the SEC.
I'm sorry, but if that was his only transgression,
exactly,
I feel like we've gone too far.
Exactly. And Zion Reagans was on the field as much as he was out of virtual necessity.
He wasn't even supposed to be there.
No, he was supposed to redshirt, man. He was supposed to redshirt. Ivan Carrion was supposed to redshirt. KJ Daniels did redshirt. They managed to keep him off the field. Zion Kearney was maybe the only guy, and I remember specifically having this conversation last August, right before Jaden Gibson got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
All of those freshman wide receivers, with the possible exception of Zion Kearney, should redshirt, and probably will. And then those dudes are all over the field by the end of the season because everybody else has dropped like flies.
Don't forget Jacob Jordan.
And Jacob Jordan as well. Beach Bum Sooner says, some of these OU fans listen to Cow Turd way too much. I like Cowherd.
I listen to Cowherd every day.
I like Cowherd. I respect Cowherd. I don't like his takes sometimes, but he's built a brand for himself, and he is very, very good at what he does.
And he's very, very wealthy.
And understandably so, because he's not like a hot take machine where all he does is just say wild, outlandish stuff. No, he can bring facts. He can bring rhetoric. He can back up his arguments. But that's neither here nor there. That's not really relevant to the conversation that we're currently having on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. So apologies for that quick aside. Keep filling it up with your questions, comments, opinions at 405-651-3439. Let's hit a quick break. When we come back, more of your texts, more OU football and recruiting talk. The final updates to the 2025 recruiting rankings were put into place today. What does it mean for Oklahoma and their group of signees? We'll dive into that on the other side. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the umps because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Online at eskridgehonda.com.
2024 Honda Ridgeline, $349 per month, 3-year, 10,000-mile lease, $49.99 plus TTNL. First month's payment due at signing. Ends 1/31/25.
We all play a role in keeping our communities safe. Oklahoma is no stranger to attacks. It's now easier than ever. If you see something, say something. The free and anonymous Protect OK app allows instant reporting of suspicious activity, both in schools and the community. You can help keep your family and friends safe.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Download the Protect OK app today in the Apple App or Google Play stores. Funded by the Oklahoma Office of Homeland Security.
Imagine one step, and suddenly a fall turns into a fracture. For many, osteoporosis is a hidden threat, weakening bones silently until it's too late. At the Ortho Central Bone Health Clinic, we believe in personalized care to keep bones strong and resilient. Led by advanced practitioner Amanda Boyd, our team specializes in detection and personalized treatment plans, from bone density testing to strengthening bones after a fracture. Take charge of your bone health today. Call Ortho Central's Bone Health Clinic and let's build better bones together.
Whether you're celebrating a special occasion, desire a great post-game, or after-work dining experience, the Ranch Steakhouse is the winning choice. At Ranch Steakhouse, we're grilling up the best USDA prime steaks in Oklahoma. Juicy, flavorful, and cooked to perfection. Pair that with an unbeatable atmosphere, a killer drink selection, and a wine list of over 400 personally curated bottles. Whether you're toasting the game or winding down after a big day, Ranch Steakhouse is where champions eat.
Many of our U.S. veterans and service members face challenges, mental health struggles, housing obstacles, food insecurity, and social isolation, to name just a few. I'm Bob Woodruff. My family and I started the Bob Woodruff Foundation in 2006 after I sustained a life-threatening injury while reporting from Iraq. Our service members had my back that day, and we need to have theirs now more than ever. At our foundation, we invest in solutions, so learn more about our work at bobwoodrufffoundation.org/success.
I thought mixing bleach with my floor cleaner would take the stain out.
When my youngest ate the dog's medicine, that was a new one.
I was trying to protect my garden, but I accidentally sprayed myself with pesticide.
So I called 1-800-222-1222, the poison helpline.
A poison expert helped me figure out what to do next.
I was connected to someone who spoke Spanish.
They answered my questions.
It was free.
It was confidential.
It was real help in real time.
Keep the poison experts in your pocket. 1-800-222-1222.
Dear hero, whoever you are, you save lives. I live with sickle cell and the pain and the issues that come along with sickle cell every day. I'm most grateful that people are willing to go out there and take their time, their blood, and give me new life. Because of you, I'm allowed to see my son grow up.
Giving equals living. Give blood. Replenish the supply. Learn more at hhs.gov/giveblood. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Good lighting is an absolute necessity these days, but not all lights are created equal. Did you know that you can reduce the energy consumption of a light fixture by up to 85% by converting to LED? Sounds like a great opportunity, but finding the right LED product isn't always easy. At Wade Electric, they have the knowledge and experience to provide an LED conversion that will save you money and stand the test of time. Whether in your home or office, get the right money-saving LED product the first time and call Wade Electric today at 405-329-1940 to receive a free estimate.
I'm sorry. I want to move on and discuss 24/7 Sports' latest rankings, final rankings for the 2025 recruiting cycle, and where some of the OU signees checked in. But I have to keep the conversation here for a second because the selective memory that some of you people have, and I love you all, but goodness gracious. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. The selective memory that some of these people are displaying over the whole Emmet Jones conversation is astonishing to me. A 405 listener says, and this is Clay in the 405, says, Parker, I agree the talk in 23 was Emmet was great. A bunch was his recruiting prowess, none of which have proven to be good at this point. Receiver production in 23 was fair. Stoops was super with 80-something catches. Next was Farouk with 45, then Anderson with 38. Not exactly great production. Thanks, Clay. So we're using receptions now as our arbitrary metric? Because you're right. Nick Anderson only caught 38 passes. May I remind you what he did with those 38 catches? He went for 800 yards, 10 touchdowns, and freshman All-American status. So if the knock is, well, Nick Anderson only caught 38 catches, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
He scored touchdowns on more than a fourth of them.
Correct. And Drake Stoops, he was Dylan Gabriel's favorite target. Drake Stoops up until that point, and I'm not even sure how much this is recognized or acknowledged. I'm fairly certain, I would have to double back and fact check myself, I'm fairly certain Drake Stoops caught more passes in that 2023 season than he had in his college career up until that point.
I don't think you would be far off if you're wrong.
Now, with regard to his recruiting prowess, and I know we live in an instant gratification society, is it okay not to have the expectation that true freshmen are going to be ridiculous? Because I think Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams have just wrecked so many people's perspective of what is reasonable to expect of a freshman wide receiver. There is only one Jeremiah Smith. There is only one Ryan Williams. And in general, across college football every single year, you're hardly going to find more than 4 or 5 true freshman wide receivers that are good, let alone dudes that are elite like those two. When was the last time you saw a freshman wide receiver in college football, period, let alone 2 of them in the same season, that were as impactful and as ballyhooed as Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams? So again, just because Zion Kearney and Ivan Carrion and Zion Reagans and KJ Daniels didn't do a whole heck of a lot in their true freshman season, doesn't mean that Emmet Jones can't recruit. It just means, guess what? They're developing the way that typical wide receivers develop. Typical wide receivers do not pop off as true freshmen. Do you remember what CeeDee Lamb did in 2017 at Oklahoma? He produced a little bit, sure. More than you probably would have expected at that point. More than you would expect in general of a freshman receiver. But then in 2018 was where the rest of the nation kind of became acquainted with CeeDee Lamb. And 2019 as a junior, he just explodes. And you're talking Biletnikoff finalist, a guy that, absent Jamar Chase's transcendent campaign, is probably winning the award. And probably would have won the award if he has that season in 2018 or 2017 or any other year since then. 832 Mike says Emmet has done well, but the 23 kids that played well weren't his guys and were already getting good college coaching. Last year's freshmen looked terrible, and regardless of injuries, they still couldn't catch the ball against Navy, where they dropped passes over and over. He will get it turned around, but I see the frustration towards him. Again, 832 Mike, some of what you're saying is true. Very selective memory. Ivan Carrion was targeted 7 times in that Navy game. He caught 7 passes. He was automatic when the ball was going his way. Zion Reagans had a rough afternoon. I'm pretty sure Zion Kearney had a drop. Zion Kearney also had a 58-yard touchdown catch. And as far as the 23 kids that played well but weren't his guys, in your words, for the first half of the 2023 season, Oklahoma's most productive wide receiver by a long shot was Andrell Anthony,
who Emmet Jones got over here from Michigan.
And that was actually pre-Emmet Jones. Andrell Anthony committed while Oklahoma was still looking for their wide receivers coach, as I recall. But Andrell Anthony, the year before he got to Oklahoma, had played several, I want to say he played 8 or 9 games at Michigan as a sophomore. 1 catch.
Yeah.
1 catch.
Under whom did he take off?
Emmet Jones.
Exactly.
And Jaden Gibson, again, do we need to go back to the corner that Jaden Gibson turned from 2022 to 2023? And I'm not saying Emmet Jones is solely responsible for that, but in 2022, Jaden Gibson was a head case that people figured, okay, maybe he ought to transfer for his own good in the programs because this just might not work. He's not really meshing with anything here. He doesn't have the right attitude. He's too inconsistent to see the field on a regular basis. And then Emmet Jones gets to town, and what does Jaden Gibson do in 2023? I'm pretty sure he only caught 14 passes, but you felt every single one of those 14 catches.
1,000%.
Big plays. 5 touchdowns, as I recall.
That's
in those
third
14
of your catches.
And even the ones that didn't go to the house, again, you felt them. Chunk gains. Big first downs. And moreover, ever since the spring of 2023, Jaden Gibson has been a model citizen, man. An absolute pleasure to be around. In stark contrast to the Jaden Gibson that we all knew as a true freshman at Oklahoma.
Let me just bounce off that with saying this, Parker Thune. I'm going to put this as simply as possible. Who has gotten worse under Emmet Jones? Is there somebody we can definitively say they have gotten worse? Because we've listed off a bunch of people who have gotten better. Andrell Anthony gotten better. Jaden Gibson just turned over an entirely new leaf. Nick Anderson took off in 2023. Ivan Carrion showed us some stuff. He was the first name that came out of my mouth after the Navy game was Ivan Carrion.
Yep.
Is there somebody who has gotten definitively, tangibly worse under Emmet Jones?
Even just anybody that has plateaued.
That too.
You know, and like all the guys that didn't produce in 2024, that produced in 2023, they didn't produce because they were hurt.
Because they weren't available.
Correct. Puerto Rican Sooner with a good opinion.
Which is the one I always bring up.
He brings up Jaquez Petaway on the text line. I don't really know what Jaquez Petaway's deal was. I don't think anybody does. But I'll say this. Regardless of what we know or don't know about Jaquez Petaway's situation, if that was a guy that the rest of the country felt had been underdeveloped and there was limitless potential there that just needed to be unlocked, and Oklahoma didn't handle him properly, and he still has the capacity to be an outstanding wide receiver at the collegiate level, he's landing somewhere better than East Carolina in the portal. The fact that no Power 4 schools were ostensibly willing to go and reel in Jaquez Pettaway and take on that reclamation project, if that's what you want to term it, I think that speaks to the reality that there's a little more going on with Jaquez Pettaway than meets the eye.
And by the way, which coach? Name me a coach. Lincoln may be the only one that did this. Name me a coach who has a 100% hit rate with a position. It doesn't happen.
It does not.
And if there's one that doesn't work out of the myriad of names that we've thrown out there, I think Homeboy's doing a pretty decent job.
Florida Sooner says, Parker, I have news for you. Emmet Jones doesn't get any credit for what Stoops did. Drake did that regardless of who his coach was. But thankfully, Hawaiian Sooner was right there on the tail end of that text with another one, which is the truth. And he said, Drake Stoops credited Emmet with a lot of his development. And yes, if you go back, and Drake Stoops met with the media quite frequently throughout the 2023 season, the things he said about Emmet Jones, they certainly do not suggest that Emmet Jones was just a guy to him that oversaw the wide receiver room and, it's all on me to improve. It's all on me to produce. Whoever the coach is, doesn't really matter. I'm going to do my thing. No, he felt Emmet Jones' impact, and he credited Emmet Jones' impact.
Parker, we've got some dissenters here. Frisco Sooner on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. Couldn't disagree with you guys more. When is Emmet Jones going to get one of those cats that Ohio State has?
Oh, my goodness.
Just one. That's all I'm asking for. If you will look around the country, almost every blue blood has at least one. Maybe he picked the wrong receivers last year because I didn't see a whole lot coming out of those freshman wideouts last year. We can stop there and answer the question, when are we going to get somebody that like Ohio Smith has with Jeremiah Smith?
Well, and when you stack wide receivers the way that Ohio State does and can and will with what they're willing to pay, because the deal to get Jeremiah Smith in the first place
was massive.
Holy smokes. Yes, enormous amounts of money were committed to that recruitment. And so for every Jeremiah Smith, and Lord knows there aren't many of that guy, but for every Jeremiah Smith, you can point to plenty of other blue-chip wide receivers that Ohio State has brought in recent years that haven't done anything.
You just don't hear about them because there's so many that do.
Exactly. Brandon Inniss comes to mind. He hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. We talked about him, former Oklahoma commit, brought him up just a couple days ago. Bryson Rogers comes to mind. I think he has 5 catches through 2 years at Ohio State, a dude that everybody wanted out of high school. So just because you're recruiting top-flight wide receivers doesn't mean they're all going to hit. And moreover, if what you're saying is, when is Emmet Jones going to go land a Jeremiah Smith type dude? The candid answer is probably never.
Because neither of us are saying Emmet Jones is the best wide receiver coach in college football. Brian Hartline is on a whole nother level. It baffles me why he's not an offensive coordinator by this point in time.
If you're asking when Emmet Jones is going to go land a 5-star number 1 prospect in the country type dude like Jeremiah Smith, the answer is probably never. And that's not his fault. It's because the price range for a cat like that is probably going to be in the $3-4 million range. And that's likely more than Oklahoma's ever going to commit to one singular player that isn't a quarterback. Now, the 2 guys that Emmet Jones did land in the 2025 class, Manny Choice and Elijah Thomas, I'm telling you, man, especially when you're dealing with budgetary constraints like Oklahoma is. And I know every school has to deal with budgetary constraints to some extent, except for Oregon, I guess, because Phil Knight has an endless wallet. But when you're dealing with budgetary constraints, and you can't just go and drop a $3 million bag on the best wide receiver in the country, you have to find guys that love what you're doing, that want to be a part of it, and that have that type of potential, and you got to go lock them down. And Emmet Jones did that 2 times over, I think, with Elijah Thomas and Manny Choice, 2 dudes that can be all-conference. Maybe, I think Elijah Thomas has all-American potential. I don't know if I would go quite that far with Manny Choice yet because he's not quite as ready to make an immediate impact as Elijah Thomas seems to be. But both those guys have potential through the roof. And so if you want to see what Emmet Jones can do as a developer and a recruiter, you want two guys that I think are going to be the key case studies, keep an eye on what Elijah Thomas and Manny Choice do over the next few years at Oklahoma.
Florida Sooner on the text line, then we can get out of here. The standard at Oklahoma cannot be lowered because of budgetary constraints. Let's get that out of the way right now. That is an unacceptable direction. My response to that is a little bit more macro. I think until there's a salary cap, that is just the reality of the situation. Because price is going to the highest bidder when it comes to that.
There was another text I just read, and I wanted, no, it wasn't another text. I wanted to follow up on Florida Sooners text before I got to another one here. But Florida Sooner, I don't think either of us said anything about lowering the standards.
No.
I think it's not about the standards. It's about realistic expectations. And your realistic expectations can't be that Oklahoma's going to go unload the Brinks truck for one singular wide receiver. Emmet Jones is plenty good enough. Plenty good enough as a recruiter and developer of talent to go find guys like Elijah Thomas and Manny Choice that are high 3, low mid 4 star type dudes as regarded by the recruiting industry, but that have limitless potential and long-term NFL stardom potential if developed properly. And that's where you got to trust him to develop them. And I do. We'll see, though. Again, 2 very intriguing case studies moving forward. That UPS guy, amidst all of this, brings up the fact that Cale Gundy was also a pretty great wide receiver coach and a great developer. That he was. Oklahoma's very, very fortunate to have gotten somebody like Emmet Jones in the aftermath of what happened with Cale Gundy, because that was unfortunate. It certainly looked like it was going to set Oklahoma back significantly as far as being able to recruit and retain and sharpen their wide receiver talent. I think they struck gold in Emmet Jones. Okay, on the other side of this break, you're listening to Locked In. Here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans, let's dive into 24/7 Sports' latest rankings, their final rankings in the 2025 cycle. I promised it to start this segment. We did not quite get to it this segment. I think the conversation was a healthy one and a necessary one, and one that plenty of you enjoyed weighing in on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. But on the other side, let's talk about where some of these Oklahoma signees landed according to 24/7 Sports' final class of 2025 rankings. That's next. Keep it here. We're not going anywhere.
Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Streak, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Like craps and blackjack or the hottest new electronic games.
Use your wild card to enter our $100,000 Snow Much to Win giveaway.
Thunder up and double down to win your commemorative coin during any Thunder game.
So start off 2025 right.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
What's up, Ref Army? It's Dusty Dvorak, and I'm back. I'm excited to be back with the Ref and cannot wait to help bring the home of Sooner fans the best Sooner coverage. Catch me every Tuesday and Wednesday during the 10 a.m. hour of The Plank Show as I cut it up with Plank and Josh about everything in the world of Sooner and college football. That's every Tuesday and Wednesday on The Plank Show, and there's only one place to hear it. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Download the KRF app today to listen from anywhere.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
At Confidence Ford of Norman, we believe in living up to our name. Our commitment to confidence is in everything we do. Whether you're searching for the perfect vehicle from our extensive selection of new Ford models or pre-owned cars, our dedicated team will help you every step of the way. Because with us, you're family. We're conveniently located at 825 North Interstate Drive, Confidence Ford of Norman, a Cavender Auto family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
Today is the day. After countless hours of research, cutting back expenses, and 9 months of anxiously waiting for her, today is the day you finally bring home your new car. It's also the day to protect her with an auto policy from Shelter Insurance. Our policies are competitively priced and include new car replacement coverage if anything were to happen to your new baby.
See me, Brian McPherson, and let us help protect all your cars.
I'm Gina Mitchell of Mitchell's Jewelry. Are you ready to make this a Valentine's Day to remember? Our favorite Antwerp diamond suppliers in the store, February 7th through the 9th. Choose from perfectly matched sets for earrings, gorgeous diamonds for a proposal, and an amazing selection for pendants. Our prices and selection simply cannot be beat. Purchase yours during our Antwerp Diamond event, and you could be our next Antwerp Diamond winner. Mitchell's Jewelry in the heart of Norman at 2201 West Main Street.
Hi everybody, Toby Rowland here. And are you and your family looking for a place to golf in 2025? The Trails Golf Club in Norman is perfect for you. The Trails give you the opportunity for you and your family to spend quality time together by playing golf, enjoying the pool in the summertime, along with many family fun-filled activities around holidays. Plus, one of the best restaurants in town. Now is the perfect time to join the Trails. Contact Zane Alexander today at 405-360-3790 or visit trailsgolf.com.
Are you, your family, or company looking for a locally owned and trusted management group? Carlsbad Management Group is an owner, developer, and manager of high-quality apartment communities in Oklahoma. They are a locally owned and operated management company for apartments and self-storage units. They are committed to providing exceptional apartment homes, customer service, and increasing the value of multi-family communities under our management. If you would like a free management quote today, call Carlsbad Management at 405-701-1411 and be part of the Carlsbad family.
Oh, this right here is amazing. Apparently, per Fox Sports insider Jordan Schultz, Jameis Winston is joining Fox Sports as a digital correspondent for Super Bowl coverage in New Orleans week. And to this, we say yes and amen.
Is that the first positive PR thing that's come out of Fox Sports in a minute?
One of the dumbest things, one of the most insufferable things that happens every single year on Super Bowl week is it's whoever the viral sensation of the moment is that's walking around doing social media content at the Super Bowl. No one cares to see the content that the Rizzler and his mafia buddies are making at the Super Bowl weekend. No one cares to see the content that Hawk Tua Girl is making at the Super Bowl weekend. At the Super Bowl festivities, excuse me. Thankfully, Fox Sports turns to a man that everyone wants to see on their social media feeds and television screens, and that is Jameis Winston, because there is no more entertaining man in football right now. Thank you, Fox Sports, for doing it right. Thank you, Fox Sports, for making Jameis Winston your digital correspondent instead of some useless viral celebrity.
I could not agree more.
I just had to get that out of the way.
I do think they need the positive PR, because the last time we talked, we mentioned Fox Sports was not good.
What was that?
You could not have forgotten this already.
There's too much going on in my brain. Fox Sports.
The Joy Taylor situation.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yes, that. Yeah, that had already worked its way out of my mental news cycle. That's been what, 3-4 weeks?
It was about a month, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
I know you had the traumatic Jim Knowles saga. I use traumatic tongue in cheek.
So 24/7 Sports just updated their 2025 recruiting rankings for the final time. And by the way, you have thoughts, you have questions, get them in before we wrap up here on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. As I am counting here, I see 5 Oklahoma commits in the top 247. That's their thing. It's the top 247, not top 250, but top 247. 5 Oklahoma commits in the top 247, and 2 more that are considered non-top 247 4-star prospects. So only 7 total blue chippers, according to 24/7. They're remarkably low on Oklahoma's class. Guys that are regarded as blue chippers by pretty much every other service, including but not limited to Trent Wilson, Amarian Robinson, Marcus Wimberly, Darius Afalava, Malik Hawkins, all 3 stars, according to 24/7 Sports. But the players that they do have in blue chip territory are as follows. Michael Fasusi at number 8 overall and the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. Shout out to the big man. That's impressive stuff. To be considered the number 1 offensive tackle in America, we always knew he had that potential very, very early on. I remember seeing Fasusi in person for the first time during his sophomore year of high school, and you could tell there was something there.
Oh, yeah.
Something really special there. It was just a matter of, okay, how does he develop? How quickly does the technique match up to the physical skills and the natural ability that he possesses and the natural frame that he possesses, which is fantastic. I mean, looking at Michael Fasusi, that is everything you want a 5-star offensive tackle to look like. So he is the number 8 overall prospect in the nation. The number 70 overall prospect and number 13 offensive tackle in the country is Bill Bedenbaugh's other bookend in this class, Ryan Foje from Cypress, Texas. The 2 highest rated signees in Oklahoma's class, according to 24/7 Sports, are Bill Bedenbaugh guys. Bad day for the Bill B haters. At number 100 overall and number 13 among cornerbacks. And this one was a little surprising to me, I'll admit. Tristan Haynes from Carl Albert.
Why is that surprising to you?
Well, it's surprising to me because, for one thing, he is very light. I was told he's about 165 pounds right now, so he's going to need to bulk up. And honestly, at the All-American weekend in San Antonio, it's not an event where defensive backs really have the opportunity to shine and really turn in standout performances. So that's not necessarily to speak ill of Tristan Haynes' performance, because I didn't think he was bad by any means, but I would not have walked away from the All-American Bowl in San Antonio feeling a whole lot different about Tristan Haynes than I did going in. But he takes a big jump. He's up to number 100 in the country. How this kid is only number 135 nationally, I have no idea, because here we get to Elijah Thomas. Elijah Thomas, folks, if you made me take a guess, you made me take a gander at who winds up 2 decades from now being regarded as the best football player that Oklahoma signed in the 2025 recruiting cycle, my money is on Elijah Thomas from Chakota, Oklahoma. Number 135 nationally, number 5 athlete in the nation. Not sure why he's classified as an athlete, because I think everybody knows he's going to be a wide receiver at Oklahoma, and that's been the plan for some time. And number 152 in the country, another Okie, C.J. Nixon, the edge rusher from Weatherford. Number 17 edge talent in the nation. And then your non-top 247 4-stars are running back Torrey Blaylock, who's considered the number 17 back in this class, and cornerback Cortland Guillory, who might be the most underrated member of this class. Number 37, and he's classified as a safety? Really? They're calling him a safety? You're not going to be a safety at OU, I'll tell you that much. But considered the number 37 safety in the nation. according to 24/7 Sports. Everybody else, 3-star. They got some of these kids ranked really low, man. Owen Hollenbeck's only a 3-star 85. Malik Hawkins, a 3-star 87. Wimberly, a 3-star 87.
You sound like a kid that just opened up the new Madden game.
Yeah, and your team is the worst?
Mm-hmm.
Your team is like 77 overall?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Like, you sound like, babe, that's it?
Kyle from Salisaw on the text line asks, outside of our blue chippers, who is somebody that you believe can be considered an X factor going forward? My answer is and has been from the jump for upwards of a year now. Emmanuel Choice. I cannot fathom how that guy has just sat there in high 3-star territory really ever since he got his initial ratings from these sites. I think On3 has given him his due. On3 has him in blue chip territory. No other site does, which is odd because like On3 is the site that's most notorious for having an anti-OU agenda in people's minds. But they're the one service that has given Emmanuel Choice his due. Nobody else has. That kid is not a 3-star. That kid's going to be really, really, really good. Nick in Sepulpa asks, are we going to offer AD Jr.? Isn't he like in 7th grade?
I was going to say, he's not in high school yet.
Is he as good as his dad? Forgive me, Nick, if I can't answer that question for you while he's in 7th grade. Give me 5 years, and then maybe we can start having that conversation. In 7th grade, you don't even know like who's still growing and who's topped out. We all have that one friend, right? I know I did. Where in 7th grade, they're the giant, and your strategy in basketball is just to get the ball to them.
I was that kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then my growth plates closed when I was 16.
Yeah, so there you go. You've experienced it firsthand.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, you get to the end of high school and you're just normal size.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, who knows? Maybe AD Jr. will be what his dad was, 6'2", 225. Maybe he'll be like 5'10", 180, and just a decent prospect. I don't know. The crazy thing is, AD's got a younger brother who's a class of 2026 prospect. I believe a 3-star. As a quarterback in Forney, Texas. He's got a few offers here, a few offers there. I don't think anything too huge. He's got Texas Tech. He's got UTEP. I think he's got Arkansas State. He looks like his brother physically. I'll tell you that much. But trying to make the whole quarterback thing work. I don't know if it will or not. Not the cleanest arm action. But he's athletic as all get out. Those genetics are strong.
I mean, there was a kid you really wanted Oklahoma to offer by the name of Jamarian Ficklin.
Yep.
Who did not have the cleanest arm action either.
No, he didn't, at least not initially. He cleaned it up big time throughout his high school career.
Florida Sooner on the text line. Parker, can you give us your 5-point range of where OU's 2026 class will rank? 5 to 10, 10 to 15. By the way, where did 24/7 Sports have OU ranked as a class for 2025?
I believe like 17 or something like that.
Okay.
It was not too terribly hot. Let me tell you, I won't speculate. I will give you an actual answer. Football recruiting, team rankings for the 2025 class, Oklahoma has, yes, the number 17 class in the nation. Boom. I was on the money. In 2026, with the obvious disclaimer and caveat noted that this could vary greatly depending on how the 2025 season goes, I would say Oklahoma's probably back in the 5 to 10 range. That would be my expectation. Especially if they have two quarterbacks on board in Jaden O'Neal and Bo Bentley, which is something we've discussed throughout the week as a definite possibility for Oklahoma. I think they're back in the 5 to 10 range. Here in the 2025 cycle, again, 17. Not great to look at, but also more a product of lack of volume than lack of talent, I think, because they only took 18 scholarship guys.
Right.
So it was a light class, their lightest since 2021 when they only took 16. So I like the pieces in Oklahoma's 2025 class for the most part. I think they're well on their way to landing another excellent group in 2026. So I would say that 5 to 10 range is where you should expect to see the Sooners sitting by the end of the cycle. Hey, that's it for Locked In here on this Wednesday. Grayson Singleton and I will see you same time, same place again tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Teddy Lehman and Tyler McComas take over next. The Rush comes your way on the other side here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.